Today I'm going to tell you the story of when I built a ship out of a table and sailed it and crashed it in a lake.
Well, a couple adventure seekers set sail on one of Utah's beautiful lakes this weekend, but they quickly realized that they were literally in over their heads here.
Gather round, all ye young lads and lasses, because this is the story of Captain Dragonbeard and his first mate, LACKBEARD. LACKBEARD was my name. You could probably guess why. I haven't told you that I have never been able to grow a beard in my entire life. Captain Dragonbeard, my friend, that was his pirate name, also thought it was hilarious to call me LACKBEARD, but that just became what it was. There we are. Me and my friend. For context, everyone should have a pirate name. I'm going to refer to these two people, myself as LACKBEARD and the other person as Captain Dragonbeard. In reality, our names were Levi and Landon, but the pirate name was important because we were on a pirate adventure. There were a lot of reasons why we decided to go on this adventure. It was actually part of a marketing stunt that we were doing for another business, but in reality, it was so that we could be pirates. We definitely talked the business into letting us do this publicity stunt, and it worked out for them, but it was mostly because we wanted to be pirates. There we are, on just a normal Tuesday in April, in the year 2017. And we decided, you know what? We've never really fully done the pirate thing before. Every child grows up of wanting to be a pirate. We all watch Pirates of the Caribbean. But none of us have taken actual steps to become a true scallywag. Well, those steps for us happened to include going to a thrift store, looking for materials to build our ship out of. We didn't have a ship. We couldn't afford to buy an actual ship. I don't know why we didn't think to go into the forest and cut down trees to make some sort of raft, Huck Finn style. That adventure might still happen in the future. For some reason, it made sense to us to go to a thrift store and to buy a kitchen table for $15. Now, part of this genius plan wasn't just buying the table, but it was using the table to construct the ship. So what we decided to do was inflate 4 inner tubes. We bought 4 inner tubes and we inflated them. We put them on the legs of the table and we figured that the table would float on the inner tubes. And we figured correctly, but I'll get to that part later. So that was the basis of the ship. We figured that that would work for sure, but we also needed a way to get around. We had a couple of oars, and actually I have one of them around here somewhere. Hold on. This is in fact one of the actual oars used on our journey. You'll see that it's very plastic, very breakable, and in fact there's only one of them because the other one did break. We bought this at the same thrift store that we bought the table. Anyway, to resume, the oars wouldn't be the only way we would get across this lake. We also decided it would be important to have a sail. This was part of the marketing campaign. We used a hammock because it was the biggest piece of fabric we could find, and so we got a long piece of wood, attached it to one of the table legs with some rope, and then we decided we would attach the hammock sail to that. Now, what's important to know is we were going to go across Utah Lake. Our original plan was to go west to east across the lake, which is quite a distance. We did drive out to that point, but the wind was not favorable, and I'm glad we did because we would have absolutely fully died. Anyway, what we decided to do was to cross a very small slice of the lake instead, starting at one marina and going to another one. The wind was favorable. It was going straight from one marina to the other one, so we decided, hey, let's do this. We filmed it. We got our waterproof GoPro. We set that thing out in the lake, which we called the SS Peg Leg because it had that wooden legs. It had 4 wooden legs. And us, attired in our best piratey garb, got on top. And here's the deal. It was so cool. It was so good. I cannot express to you the feeling of being dressed like a pirate, of getting on this little maybe 4 foot by 4 foot table, 2 of us, and just going. We just went. It moved. It worked. We got emotional. Both of us started crying.
That's right.
This is sweet.
Pirates.
I've never seen.
I mean, I don't know how close pirates are to your heart, but like for us, this is a childhood dream. We're in our 20s, as the news station made very clear to say, which I'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, we're there. We're sailing. The hammock worked. We're just rowing ourselves out there, and it's just beautiful. Now, I have to take it back a little bit. As we were constructing the table, and as we were adding, you know, the inner tubes to different parts of it, I noticed that one of the corners of the table, a sharp table corner that ended in a sharp 90-degree point, was directly in contact with one of the inner tubes, and I thought, that kind of worries me a little bit. I'm kind of worried about that. And I say to Captain Dragonbeard, hey Captain Dragonbeard, I'm a little bit worried about this point of friction. Captain Dragonbeard looks at it and goes, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. It was not. Because as we were minding our own business, that's precisely where that tube exploded and upended us into the depths of the watery deep. I should have been more outspoken probably. I don't know what we would have done to kind of reduce that friction there. Maybe padded it with something, maybe put some tape or something. But that was our downfall. And we found ourselves in the water. Now, the interesting thing was, we found ourselves in the middle of this lake in April. In Utah Lake, in April, without any life jackets or any sort of wetsuit or anything. It's pretty cold. And in fact, it became very apparent that it was very cold very quickly.
I'm a little cold, man.
It was cold enough that we got mildly hypothermic.
And for some reason, I just remember the second that we went down, Captain Dragonbeard goes, okay, this is kind of an emergency. First thing, like, comes out of the water, okay, this is kind of an emergency. And we didn't realize how much of an issue it was until somebody comes by in a boat. They're like, hey, do you need help? And I don't know why, but we just said, no, we're good. Because we wanted to pull the boat in. We didn't want to lose the boat. So we're swimming in. There's one life jacket, actually. I do remember we had one life jacket, so I gave it to Captain Dragonbeard because he's not as tall as I was, and so if somebody was going to touch the bottom, it was going to be me. We're swimming back, and we're like in boots, pirate garb. We have swords strapped to us, so you know we're not, and we're pulling this entire table ship. So there's, you know, things going on that are weighing us down. We're swimming back, and then I started to realize it was getting much colder than I thought. The shivering was becoming uncontrollable, and I was like, oh, you know what, I don't remember any time that I've had hypothermia, but I kind of feel like I'm experiencing some of those symptoms. So what actually happened was somebody called an ambulance, we didn't, and the ambulance showed up to save us, thankfully. We made it out. Turns out with only mild hypothermia. I don't know if an internal temperature of 92 degrees is mild hypothermia. That was mine. Could have been a very serious adventure had we tried to start it from somewhere else or had somebody not come to our aid. So that's something to remember if you're going out for these adventures. It doesn't make them not worth it.
So we made it. Thanks to Josh and Scott.
And I'm glad that we learned from that and our adventures got a lot smarter from then on out. But there are a couple of details you should know. One of which being Landon Dragonbeard wasn't the only one at fault. I did accidentally drop my knife and stab one of the inner tubes before we got out, but that wasn't the one that popped, and I was able to tape it up, and that hole wasn't the one that exploded, okay? I also, for some reason, just in the panic of sinking, he said, find my phone, which back then they weren't waterproof, so you had to put them in a plastic bag, and I thought it was floating away, and he's like, my phone, can you grab it? And because I was in adventure mode, or something, I had my knife, same knife, and I stabbed the bag to grab it because I wasn't letting it get away, not thinking that would also let water into the bag. I think the phone made it, but it wasn't the smartest of moves. The cool thing is we got all of this on video, all of it on GoPro, and we meant to make a video about it for years and years and years, and we never did. So I'll include some of it in this video. It's important to know that it was one of the most epic adventures of our entire lives. It was so good, and I recommend that people, you know, safely go out and have adventures, because that's life, that's living. And adventure can be, it doesn't have to be making a table, you know, out of a boat out of a table. It can be just walking a different way home because you want to explore a new part of your neighborhood, or learning about foraging the different plants, or learning about local wildlife species, or going to a new library and checking out a new book, a new kind of book you've never read before, or going to an event and meeting somebody new. Like, adventure can be anything, and I'll talk about that a lot on this channel. Everyday adventure, I think, is really important. It's not always traveling, it's not always getting out there. Sometimes it really can happen just in your mind. And having a philosophy of everyday adventure, I think, is important. I don't know if I was rambling about that or succinct. I'll try to be succinct about it in the future. But I love you guys. Thank you for listening to my story today. I hope it brought you a chuckle.
Well, Levi and Landon, they may be kids at heart, but they're actually in their 20s.
I'm Levi, and this is Outlandish.